Hi, folks. My name is Loretta Miller. I'm running for U.S. Congress in District 15 of Florida. Uh, the left has energized more than ever in Florida, and we need to show them we will fight for Florida values. I've been warning everyone for months on how the left will show up for this election, and now they even have more reason to do so since we have Donald Trump in office. Floridians love freedom. My opponents, and I'm not talking about just the Democrat, but I'm also talking about the Republicans or so-called Republicans, want to restrict our freedom. Floridians want jobs with good wages. I'm 100% for increasing the wage of $10 an hour, which is your tourist group wage, to a decent wage of $15 an hour. We don't have that in Florida. My opponents running in the primary want to have more regulations on businesses, which will stifle growth and wages. We're talking about putting big business in and taking away the mom and pop stores. We're going to stifle growth because they keep reminding us we're a transient state and we're no better than anything other than that. The difference could be not clearer. I am proud to be a steadfast constitutionalist Republican. I'm not your conservative. I will not stifle you like the conservatives are trying to do, who will fight for our Floridian values. And our Floridian values are not just tourism. Our values are for our children, our schools, our education, higher education. We have wonderful colleges here in Florida. We need more hospitals. There are hospitals in cities like Haines City. No, I shouldn't say hospitals. There are no hospitals in Haines City and no hospitals in Groveland. And God forbid if you should have a heart attack, it takes you a half an hour to get to a hospital. And you know what they call patients who arrive a half hour after a heart attack? They're called dead, or DOA, dead on arrival. My opponent is a far left Republican. I'm in the middle, but they're beyond the other side of me to the left, and they call themselves Republicans, who never spoke out like I did against the Obama birther cases, or commonly known as the eligibility cases. I was one of the defendants in the eligibility case. I was punished by Obama for the eligibility case. I had an IRS audit because of the eligibility cases. I had my car broken into because of the eligibility cases. But I stood and I still defended America because I felt that Obama, and I still feel that Obama, is not an American citizen, and he was never born in Hawaii. Where he was born, I have no idea. And I am one of the people that stood up and spoke against Nancy Pelosi for her Obamacare. I stood up there and the press did not put me on because I was a birther. And I went up against Debbie Wasserman Schultz. I spoke up against her. I knew what she was. A lot of people refused to acknowledge the fact what she was doing and how the Democratic Party was operating. When I ran against Obama, and this is the reason why I ran against Obama, was to give everybody, every attorney that went forth in the eligibility cases standing, because the court said that they did not have standing since they did not have a candidate that they were representing. Chuck Schumer, that's another one. Got to go up against him. Somebody has to tell him to sit down and shut up, because what he's doing is anti-American. His name has been mentioned several times by Communist Party that's here in the United States, that they defend him. And of course, our good old friend Hillary Clinton, where my opponents, the person who I was also running against, who was Donald Ross, refused to say, lock her up. She has broken more laws than the criminals that are in jail now. And yet they didn't get away with it, but Hillary Clinton has gotten away with almost everything. She has committed treason. She has allowed KGB to go into her files because she was connected with the KGB since her husband was in office. And I put on many videos of the KGB officers who turned American, who became American, who started working with the FBI in America and turned other KGB officers in, and they were deported. Not put in like the Israeli that they claim was a spy, but these spies were permitted to go back to Russia under Obama and under Clinton. I'd like to know why. I'm sure you do too. My opponents, they're raising lots of money. And to make me win this election, which I'm up against a lot of people in this election, we need to raise money. We need to show them who we are, and we will not stand for this type of government. Your immediate donations, 25, 50, 100, 250, or whatever you can afford, will help us gain closer win, a more exact win. I need you. I need the money, number one, to have signs for the streets, to let people know who I am, to hold rallies, to send out mailings, to let the people of Florida know they have a choice. We don't have a choice here. We have a group of people that are the same ones all the time. They get elected in office all the time, and we have no choice because they're not allowing an election of choice. We need to meet the energy of the left. I'm also talking about the left Republicans, and I'm also talking about the left Democrats, the extreme left, and also the extreme right, because the extreme right is so right that they're almost left. In fact, they're almost communist or KGB. That's how far left they are. I mean, I shouldn't say left. That's how far right they are. I don't know whether the Nazis were the right or the Nazis were the left, or the Nazis made up their own center altogether. But when somebody restricts you from talking, such as the Trump or allegedly Trump train that's on Facebook, a group, and they said, well, I don't like what you have to say. Well, you don't have to like what I have to say. I have the right to speak. I have the freedom of speech. That's guaranteed to me by the Constitution, by the First Amendment, freedom of speech, freedom of the press. And obviously, some of the people who claim to be right are denying me that freedom of speech, freedom of the press. This is why it's so important for me to get in to guarantee your children, in the future will have freedom of the press, freedom of speech, the freedoms that our forefathers guaranteed us, and the Constitution of the United States has guaranteed us. But the extreme right and the extreme left want to take our constitutional rights away from us. I'm reading what I had written because I can't put it up on the computer, but I'll read it to you. We need to pitch in. We all need to help me. All of you need to help me. You want your freedom. You want your children to grow up in this country with our Constitution. You need to get a constitutionalist in office to protect the Constitution, not to change it, but to keep it the way it is. I am all for the Second Amendment. I believe that everybody should have a militia in their home. I have been proud to stand with grassroots foundations, and I have stood with a lot of grassroots foundations in my life. I am proud to stand with you. I have always been proud to stand with you. Whether I went against Soviet Jewry, I will tell you a story. I was against communism in the 1960s. I chained myself to the Soviet embassy for freedom of a religious group to leave Russia, or for Russia to change and allow religious groups to exist. I don't believe in communism. I believe that everybody has a right to practice their religion the way they chose to practice their religion, and not have someone come to you and say, well, your religion isn't good, you have to do what I say. That's not the way the Constitution is about. That's not what the Constitution is about. The Constitution is about that you practice your religion the way you want to practice your religion, and there is no religion in this country that is superior than any other one's religion. And I will not permit Sharia law or any law, even Judaism laws, to take over the Constitution. I don't care who the person is. I will stand with you. I will stand with you and the Constitution. I will stand with our president, Donald Trump. I believe in him. I believe that he is on the right track, but had wrong advisors in the beginning. But I believe Donald Trump really loves this country, and I love it too. I will be extremely proud to represent you. I am not going, you will find me in my office, not on the road campaigning, because if the election's coming up, I will be in my office, whether it is in Washington or whether it is down in Florida. I will take vacations when I am allotted the vacations according to the Constitution and according to the rules of Congress. I am not going to go to California like Dennis Ross did and want to go campaigning and claim that that is a campaign adventure. Your constituents are not in California. Your constituents are here in Florida, District 15. If somebody outside the state wants to give me money, that's fine. I want to bring jobs into Florida. I want to make sure everybody in Florida has decent housing. There are 5,000 trailers in Texas, and they're sitting there. Why are they sitting there? Because they have Chinese walls. We have federal ground in Florida. All we have to do is bring these federal FEMA trailers into Florida, take out the walls. Jobs. make them available for those who are homeless, homes. Give them a chance to reestablish themselves as citizens of Florida. Find jobs for them. Have them become tax-paying citizens of the United States of America. We don't have Florida taxes here, personal taxes. But we need to establish jobs for our children. We need to give homes to those that are homeless. But my opponents who are on the Republican Party say, well, let them go get jobs. You can't get jobs unless you bathe. You can't get jobs unless you have food to eat. You can't get food stamps unless you have an address. You can't get a job unless you have an address. You can't live in a car and have a job unless you have an address. I'm going to talk about something that happened to a friend of mine today. Or I should say last night. I have a friend that works in Disney. She was a coordinator in Disney, a very high position coordinator. And what happened to her was she went to the doctors. And my friend likes to talk a lot. She likes to pop, 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 pop. That's fine. I have no problem. She's helped me out quite a bit with this campaign. But while she was in Disney and she was talking to the doctor because she didn't feel well, they decided they're going to Baker Act her. No reason. Just to Baker Act her because she's talking too much. So when she called me on the phone, she says, I'm Baker Acted. I said, why? She says, I don't know. They didn't tell me why. I said, they have to tell you why. This is the law. They have to tell you why. And then I told her, don't talk to anybody. Just don't say a word. I'll get you an attorney. And I gave her the name of several attorneys. She has to call them on the phone. And then I'm thinking to myself, if she got Baker Acted while she was on the job, that at that point is workers' compensation. Of course, Disney's going to fight this. They're going to say because of Obama putting in the law of the medical that anyone who has an existing condition does not get workers' comp. Well, this is not an existing condition. This is from the stress that she has to undergo in Disney, the happiest place on earth or the magical place on earth, whichever park you're going to. And if they said that she had a nervous breakdown, then she had a nervous breakdown because of what she experienced as a person in this company. And I said to her, okay, go, don't say anything to anyone. They can only keep you for 72 hours. I gave her the laws. After the 72 hours, either a state psychiatrist has to come in to interview you, or they have to bring you to court. If the state psychiatrist gives you a release, and they remove and insist that they remove the Baker Act from your record, then you're fine. If the state psychiatrist says that you have to go under therapy, you go to court, you can fight it in court. That's where she's going to need an attorney. But she's also going to need an attorney for the workers' comp because, of course, Disney's going to deny it. Disney denies a lot of things. Disney changes all forms of HR laws. And I've caught them because I used to work there. And they couldn't wait until I left. And I'm now still on their case. Because Disney paid the former to-be Congressman Dennis Ross money, and he didn't know how to put it into his account, so he stuck it into his a campaign account under fictitious names. Well, I wrote to every single person that was on his fictitious name list that was filed with the FEC. 85% of that came back. No such address exists. So you go figure that one out. I'm not going to say any more about that, other than the fact that he also spent $30,000 on cell phones in 1 year. And that did not include, now listen, it did not include service. That was cell phones. That was your money that you gave for campaign funds that he used to spend for cell phones. Now, I don't know who he gave those cell phones to. Also, there's a campaign equipment. And I forgot to mention this. When I first moved down here, I said I wanted to call him on the phone to find out, because I'm really into politics and I wanted to make sure Donald Trump got into office. So I wanted to know, he's a Republican. I wanted to know where his campaign office was. I wanted to know how to go about helping to make sure Donald Trump gets into office. And since Dennis Ross has to run every 2 years, because congressmen are every 2 years, not 1 year, not 5 years, 4 years, not 6 years like the senators are, but every 2 years they have to run. So he has to have a campaign office constantly going and collecting campaign funds. I found out that his campaign office was in a closet in his federal office, and that his campaign managers were all federal employees in his office. And he was using an extension to his phone, federal phone, for his campaign. Illegal. Illegal. I went to the FBI, and this is the reason why he is not running, because he's under investigation and possible indictment for illegally using campaign funds and illegally using a federal office for a campaign. Now, he gave the funds that he illegally got from Disney, because he had an awful lot of Disney lobbyists on his that gave money to him, and he sends his people, because when I went in for an EEOC complaint with the federal government, his people were sitting on the side of Disney, hoping that Disney would win because they have a congressman on his side. So what he has done was taken the money and he has looked away. I don't look away. I will not take that money. I will not look away. I am here for the people. You may not like unions, but in this case, the unions in Disney are needed to help the people. The new contract actually wants to eliminate the unions. No. It's not a good idea. Well, let me get back to my campaign. I will be extremely proud to represent you and to protect you and to protect your rights. That will be my job. My job will be in my office, not in California, not in Texas, not in Illinois, but my job will be in my office, whether it's in Washington, D.C. or down here in District 15. And my job will be to live in District 15 and not be in one of these $7,000 mansions. I know, excuse me, he lived in a $2 million mansion that is in Lakeland, and not just build up Lakeland, but to build up all of District 15, including the ghost town of Haines City and the ghost town of Groveland. I've passed by there. If you sneeze, you're out of Groveland. Florida, to me, is the greatest state I have ever lived in. I lived in Pennsylvania. And the Florida supersedes Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is actually now in a state of poverty. People's homes are under. The taxes are too high, and I will make sure that taxes will be decent in Florida, and will make sure that the rich do not take over Florida, but the middle class, the working class, will have homes. And I would like to have some type of federal law to protect our seniors and also and the very poor. And I would like to also build up the slums. You build up these slums. You make sure federal grants go into these slums so they can build up slums, and we won't have the gang situation like we've had in the past. The well-funded resistance that I'm running against, and I'm talking about both the left claim and the right left, which are my Republicans, will do more to turn Florida blue, because they're going to be one-term people. I'm going to be more than one-term people, because you're going to love me. And I love you. I love Florida. And they'll make this state more like California. California has slums. They have on large streets, on famous streets, they have people living there who are homeless, and they take up the sidewalks, and they open businesses so they can get food. But they're never going to leave the streets, because the Democratic governor is keeping them down. And so are the Republicans are keeping them down, because they don't care. They don't care. They have their money. They get $179,000 a year plus to speaking engagements, plus this, plus that. My speaking engagements, if I do get money for speaking engagements, that money will go towards homeless, go towards places to build habitat for the people to live in. We need that. I am not someone who is going to take that money and become a millionaire and just stick it in my pocket and say the hell with everybody. No, I used to go in Philadelphia. My husband had a very good business, extremely good business. We were very wealthy. And I used to go to the people who were homeless, and I would feed them. I would gather clothing. I would go there with the clothing and feed them, and shelter them and clothe them. And there's many children that were that way. And there was this one little boy. He was in I think he was in elementary. No, he was just started junior high or middle school. And he helped me, and he said, I would like to have this named after me, this mission. I said, you know what, honey? I'll be glad to. I don't need the credit. I'll name it after you. This is your mission. This is Josh's mission, to feed everybody. And he was happy. That's the type of children we need to grow in Florida. We need to grow people who care about other people, not Antifa, who cares only for themselves, who will carry signs and kill everybody because you don't believe in what they believe in. You have to be able to be more trusting and to be more accepting of other people's thoughts. Everyone has a right to their own thoughts. We cannot let this happen to turn our state blue, because if you turn the state blue, you're going to take away a lot of people who are Constitutionalists. Constitutionalists are really the blue people. Or red people, not the blue people. Well, we should call them the purple people because we're in between blue and red. Will you stand with me and donate something today? Go on my website. I'm going to link my website to this broadcast. Please go on and give me $20, $25, $50, $100, $250. If you want to give me more, that's fine. If you want to give me $10, that's okay. Every dime counts because we need to get me on the road to winning. And if we don't, you're going to have the same old people in there, and then the state is going to turn red. This election is at a pivot point. It's actually at a pivot point. Me against them. No matter what name you call it, Democrat, Republican, it's the same old crap. They can say, I'm a conservative. What is a conservative? A conservative was a name that the Democrats used to, as a slang name, a negative slang name against the Republicans. Then they called them rhinos. Rhinos are now known as people like McCain. McCain is a rhino. He turned against the people that he represented. Now he's a Democrat Republican or a Republican Democrat. He's the left. He's the conservative extreme left. And he'll tell you, I'm conservative. Yeah, right. I'm a constitutionalist. Like I said, if it's not in the Constitution, it's not the law. The law of the land is the Constitution of the United States. The Constitution supersedes any law that this government makes. We still have a lot of work left to deliver on a promise I made and we made. We, as a country, we made it to protect the voters and to protect the Constitution of the United States of America. If we lose the House, which you will lose the House if you put these people in who are running against me, because they're the left, not the middle. You need people who are in the middle. You don't need people on the extreme right. You don't need people on the extreme left. You need someone who's going to be stationary in the middle to protect you. You are the voter. If we lose the House, what are we going to do? You're going to go back to the same thing that you had in the past. Everything that Donald Trump has accomplished will be undone. Is that what you want? Actually, is that what you want? We need homeland security. Good homeland security. I was in the Israeli army. I can spot something going on a mile away. If someone tells me something and it doesn't sound kosher, I'll say it doesn't sound kosher. Don't listen to these people that stand up there and say, oh, I'm a good Christian. Well, what does that have to do with running for office? I'm a badass Jew. I will stand there and fight for you because I'm a badass Jew. I'm not a good Christian who has to wait to listen and hear a voice talk to me. You know, they call those people schizophrenia. And I don't listen to voices. And if they tell me, well, I go to Jesus, well, I go to God. I go directly. I don't go to Jesus. Jesus is Jews go wholesale, and Jesus is actually retail. So you have to go there. He talks to God for you. I go directly. God hears me when I pray. And I'm sorry to bring up religion, but that's how I feel. We have Democrats are already talking about raising your taxes, raising your federal taxes. I want a flat rate tax. Flat rate tax right across the board. Everybody pays the same thing. Right when you go and buy a car, you're going to pay the same thing as the person who's wealthy, poor, whatever. You're going to pay the same amount. No more IRS. I mean, that is, the IRS will be there to collect the flat rate tax, but that's it. No more audits, no more filing. We have a flat rate tax, no more money out of your paycheck. And this flat rate tax will be included with the Social Security that we pay all the time, with the Medicare. I have the whole thing figured out. I have it written out, figured out. I know what exactly has to be done. I'm an accountant. I understand taxes. I understand laws. I understand more things than with my opponents that I'm running against. And by doing so, we will accomplish to make America a lot more stabilized. I am confident that you will choose liberty. And that is why I will be proud to represent you and to fight for you. I'm not someone who is going to stand there and let some attorney browbeat me down because he's an attorney or he went to Harvard Law School. That doesn't mean a thing. I know a lot of people who have PhDs and they're as dumb as a doorknob because they're only good in theory and not in actuality. The House of Representatives is the people's house, not the attorney's house, not the lawyer's house. It's the people's house. And these people who are multimillionaires before they even get into office because they've stole so much money in their law practice from you that they don't understand what it's like to be an average person. I do. I understand the average person. My family was not rich when I was growing up. There were many days, even though my mom and dad had a restaurant, there were many days that we only had one meal a day because we had to hold the food for the restaurant. And I understand hunger. Believe me, I understand hunger. And I understand Social Security. I understand medical care. I worked in a hospital. I understand the problems Americans have to face. They don't. They don't know what you want. I understand the gas prices are so outrageous. And you know why they're outrageous is because they're on a commodity market, because President Bush, the last one, and Obama allowed it to remain on the commodity market so that you will pay eventually $9 a gallon. That's what their goal is $9 a gallon. And they keep throwing on more federal tax after federal tax after federal tax. Just recently in Lakeland, I received a notification that they want to add 5 more cents onto it so they can fix roads. And half the roads are federal roads. So why can't they get federal grants to fix these roads? Why? Because Dennis Ross refused to give money for these federal roads, refused to give grants, the grants that are sitting in Washington not being used. That's why. Grants that could also be put in hospitals that so people won't die from a heart attack, a stroke, or any kind of trauma. He won't put the money down because of that. You have officials that are in Groveland, and I'm going to talk now about Groveland, which is part of my constituency or future constituency. There are leaders in Groveland who refuses to put in grocery stores that are less prices than Publix because Publix pays them through donations not to do that. But Publix won't give me a dime. You know why? Because I'll put in Bravo, I'll put in Winn-Dixie, and I'll make sure that there are malls in Groveland, and we'll grow Groveland. And the same thing down in Haines City. We need a hospital down there. We need veterans hospitals down there, so our veterans don't have to drive 4 hours to go to Jacksonville to go see a doctor. We can have two mini veterans hospital, one in Groveland, one all the way down in Haines City. And what will that do? That means they're going to have to build hotels, because when people come to the Veterans Hospital, they need hotels. The family sometimes needs hotels to stay in. And when you start that, business grows. Next thing you know, you're going to need restaurants. Then you're going to need clothing stores. And we'll bring the mom and pop stores back to Florida. And we no longer will be a transient state, that your government, your senators, in fact, your past governor, or this new past governor, Scott, has been telling everybody, we're a tourist state, and that's all we are, and we don't care about just tourists. No, I care about the people who live here. We need jobs. I care about your children. We need jobs. I don't want them to walk in, leave high school and say, get a job in McDonald's or Burger King or Wendy's and say, do you want fries with your drink? And they have degrees in business, and they have degrees in other areas, and they can't get jobs because there are no jobs here, and then they leave the state. So that's why we're a transient state, because there are no jobs. There's no jobs in Florida, and we have to provide the jobs. And I will be proud to serve you. And I want to thank you for everyone who has donated in the past. All you have done for me. You've been wonderful, absolutely wonderful. My volunteers have been more than wonderful. They've been going out and knocking on doors and telling people that I'm here and having petitions signed. But the petitions aren't enough. They really aren't enough. We need to get my name out there with television ads and with flyers. And I need your money to do this. And I need it so we can become a successful campaign. And you will succeed if I succeed. And I want to end up with this statement. I am for liberty. I am for justice. And I am for the American way. And I want to thank you. Again, remember, my name is Loretta Miller. I am running for U.S. Congress in District 15 in the state of Florida. Thank you. And I hope I've informed you everything I can possibly do for you. Thank you. Have a good day.